So exactly why wasn't this movie called Ralph Wrecks the Internet? Okay, so Wreck-It Ralph 2, Ralph Breaks the Internet, is the latest movie from Disney, as they've been more or less having movies come out every other month, or every month this year at least, since they've acquired Star Wars, Pixar, and they have their own studios plus the live action stuff. The story continues 6 years after the first movie, which is exactly the last time the first movie came out. This time it takes place in the same place, in Mr. Ludwig's video arcade, and he gets Wi-Fi for the first time. Ralph is perfectly happy living where he lives and doing his everyday routine. Vanellope is not so much happy with she is, and after a situation happens at the arcade, Ralph and Vanellope have to go online to get a MacGuffin. So that's where this movie begins, and I think this movie is not getting the respect it is from the critics, because a lot of it, especially at the very beginning, is very similar to the Emoji Movie, and there's a huge blowback from that movie. But once you look into the content of this movie and what the movie is actually about, I think this is really good, and I might even go as far as say it's better than the first one. I also believe, as far as sequel goes, when people were comparing sequels this year, I think it's far better than Creed and far more interesting. And I might even say it's better than The Incredibles 2, if only the beginning was a little bit faster pace. So we have this big setup where Ralph is completely happy. He's found everything he wanted in life. Vanellope, not so much, and she wants more. But unfortunately, once we get into the internet, it gets kind of bogged down with this whole getting the MacGuffin so that they can go back to the video game and get the hell out of the internet. While there, Vanellope finds her calling in life, and she decides to go there. The third act in this movie is very odd for a Disney and especially a children's movie, in the fact that most movies will tell you, or most third acts in any cartoon movie is like when the characters get together. This movie, it's not really about that. It's about the levels of friendship and the fact that, quite simply, friends do grow apart, which is a very mature theme for this type of movie. I was actually very surprised. I actually saw this. I had to watch this movie a second time before I can review it because of the nature of it. I was like, wait, did this movie just tell me what I think it did? But it goes through all the levels of friendship, what type of level your friendship is, if you should, when is it okay to go away from your friends, everything in between. And it shows that, you know, growing apart is just a natural part of life, and sometimes you just have to accept it. It does, like I said, go into dark places in the third act. Also, it has a resolution at the end that feels a little bit too glossy, especially once you see Ralph's character progress in this movie and actually kind of digress in what he does. So that's kind of different, and it kind of matches up where all the characters were either set up from the first one and their journey through this movie. John C. Reilly returns as Wreck-It Ralph. He's really good. Sarah Silverman does a really good job as Vanellope, and it's hard to believe if you watch her stand up that this is the same person, as she's just very, well, her character is from a video game called Sugar Rush. She is very sweet, she is very charming. Gal Gadot joins in as Shank, the leader of a group of drivers in a racing game called Slaughter Race. There is Jane Lynch, who comes back as Sergeant Calhoun, who doesn't get much. If you like Calhoun and Fix-It Felix from the first one, you will be very disappointed in this one, because they're barely in the movie at all. They're kind of introduced at the beginning. They're given something so they can be the hell away from the screens, or be away from the plot, and then they just come back at the end to say, hey, we're here. That's pretty much it. So that was kind of disappointing. Taraji P. Henson as Yes, in charge of BuzzFeed, and I didn't know that this was a real website, and it is a real social media thing. So there you go. I just liked her character because every time you see her, she's always in a different outfit. She's very trendy, and of course someone who is in charge of this type of social media would be a trendy person. The voice acting was really good across the board. Alpha Molina is in it, Bill Hader is in it, Andy Tudyk is in it as Nosmore, who is basically a search engine. He's really good. I didn't realize it was Ed O'Neill as Ludwig, who is in charge of the arcade. Now, where this movie kind of goes bad, or not bad, or the stuff I didn't like about it, was the simple fact that the second act was a little bit too long. The beginning wasn't very interesting. When they first get to the internet, like I said, a lot of people compared it to the Emoji Movie. They even used the same joke that the Emoji uses to show you Twitter as a bunch of birds. There is a lot of product placement, but none of it feels forced. Like, I didn't feel like they were trying to sell me Google. They were just going, okay, this is online. There goes Facebook. There goes Instagram. There goes Google. Even the Disney placement wasn't egregious. They just kind of go there and go, oh, go spread your ad here, because a lot of people go there. That was it. I wasn't as concerned or disturbed by it as some people are, but whatever. The third act cleans up a little bit too nicely compared to what was done. But that's about it. I really like this. The princess scene, where most of it is in the trailers, is really good and ends in a really satisfying way. Especially the action scene with the Disney princesses, that was really good. And if Disney's not making this movie now, they are leaving $1 billion on the table. And I'm not just saying it just because it's girls. It was a really cool scene. Everyone got a little something to do. Everything from Meredith from Brave, Snow White, Tangled, even the girl from The Princess Frog got it. I don't remember her name. I've never seen that movie. Ariel. All of Moana was in it. It was a really cool action scene. Their scene was probably some of the funniest stuff. I like this part in the slaughter race with Gal Gadot. I'm not sure. I've never really heard Gal Gadot speak, so I don't know if that's her real accent, but it did sound kind of odd. And it goes like, I know that's Gal Gadot, but I'm not sure if she's putting on an accent or that's her real voice. I didn't see Wonder Woman shoot me. But I like that part, and there's definitely a thing in there about going from old school gaming, which is Sugar Rush, where it was a couple of tracks. You do the same thing once you learn the courses. There's nothing much to it. To the new modern game, which is Slaughterhouse, where it's more grimy, it's more gritty, and it's also open world. There's no tracks. You can go all over the place, and there's always new content being added to it. So there's thatness to it, and I think that's kind of not only was it indicative of the relationship between Vanellope and Ralph, but it also is very telling of the way old gaming is compared to what current gaming state is. The ending, like I said, got really dark, and it teaches a lesson, like I said, that you don't see in most kids' movies. But this is a really sharp movie. If you can get past the beginning of the movie, where it is a little bit slow, but once they get onto the internet, especially once they ramp up the tension and the boundaries of the friendship between Ralph and Vanellope, it really hits. There's a speech that Vanellope gives near the end of the movie that kind of shows you she's right. And as an added bonus, I believe it was making fun of the trope, they even specifically say it, there is a princess song in the movie. I'm not going to say where. It is a really funny song. It's a really good song, and they bring it back in the credits. Also, there's only one mid-credit scene, I believe, and it is kind of a trope and a play on, I saw that in the commercial, why isn't it in the movie? But once you start seeing it, you're going to be like, oh, I already saw it. I don't know if you want to stay for it, but it's still a pretty funny gag. Like I said, I really like this movie. I really like the lesson. The voice acting is on point. Yes, it was slow at the beginning, but once you get to the main plot, at the end of the movie, it is really heartfelt. It is really sad. And it is a lesson to be learned, and a lesson that I don't think a lot of kids' movies go into. Not in this way. I give Wreck-It Ralph an 8.6. I really like this movie. Go out of your way to see it. Did you watch Wreck-It Ralph 2? Ralph Breaks the Internet? Let me know in the comments below. Like, subscribe, and until next time, bye.